The College Basketball Experience Southwest Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the SWAC 24-25 season preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the College Basketball Experience Monday Night SWAC. I feel like we're in mid-season form because, the Monday slate is always weak during the year. But you know what league you can always count on to have standalone games in that late window, baby, on YouTube or whatever channel it is, trying to catch a Mississippi Valley Delta Devils game. That is the SWAC. We love the SWAC over here at the College Experience. Let's dive into it team by team, and we'll give out our rankings at the very end. But first off, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight over here at the College Basketball Experience. And, this guy's a SWAC expert, baby. Because you guys know, well, he's the behind the scenes of the College Football Experience. He's also the host of the College Baseball Experience because he is the drywall banging, window hanging, LeBaron driving, Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77_. What is up, man?
What's going on, Mac? Let's talk some SWAC. And Hasty asking if everything was okay in LeBaron world. Man, I mean, just these conferences with a bunch of the smaller, less organized teams when it comes to like officially announcing rosters, it just takes a little bit more work to do the research and corral some stats. And that's what I was doing. Also fighting a little bit of the allergy bug, living in like one of the worst areas for someone with allergies. I mean, Saturday it was 40 degrees. I was sitting in misery after Michigan had lost, and then Sunday it's 70, and it just completely fucks up my allergies. And I've been really feeling it today, but it kicked my ass. And also the Bethune-Cookman transfer portal haul kicked my ass. That took me about 30 minutes to do all that research and whatever for a middle of the pack SWAC team. Maybe we'll see. We're going to chop it all up. Last year, Grambling State swept the SWAC, winning both regular season and tournament titles. It was an outstanding coaching job by Donte Jackson, leading the program to their first ever NCAA tournament appearance, and they beat Montana State in the first four. I went back and listened to TCE's 2023 SWAC preview. Mac was on a bachelor's trip at the time, and Colby was on the show with just me. Colby and I were both sold on the Jackson State Tigers last year, but they finished 7th in the conference. I think they were 11-7, but we didn't know how to establish our sleepers and busts for the SWAC just because there was no real kind of precedent entering last season. There was some kind of chaos as well with us, doing some research. So I believe last year we were ranking the teams as we went along. That was kind of fun in its own right. We're not going to do that this year. We're going to go with our normal structure. We're going to do our preseason rankings at the end of this show. We're also going to label our sleepers and busts and possibly like a tournament champion if we think a team has a potential to peak late in February and March. Mac, is there anything else that you'd like to add in here before we preview the 2023-24 season for the upcoming individual teams in the SWAC this year?
Yeah, and I feel like an asshole kind of giving this out or this angle out on the SWAC preview, but these are kind of teams I think you want to look to fade in the non-con because if you remember, and I'll talk about it once we get into the season. Unfortunately, they have to fund their entire athletic department with these bye games. So you'll see all these teams kind of start. Some of them will start 0-13. I forget who it was. Maybe it was Texas Southern one year, started 0-13, then ended up with the winning record because they were good. They just were playing at Gonzaga, at Oregon, at Texas, at Iowa State, at UConn, at Duke. Like, they were everywhere. And then finally they were ready to go once they got to an even playing field. So you're going to see that with these teams. And unfortunately, they do wear down in the month of December when they've been on the road for the entire month of November. But every now and then you'll see these SWAC teams pop up. Remember, they did the SWAC Pac-12 challenge 2 years ago. Yep. They, I think, won like 2 or 3 games. I know
they got to host some games too, which was a big difference.
Exactly. And then I think Jackson State won at Mississippi State last year or 2 years ago. So we've seen these teams. Of course, Grambling pops up and gets somebody every now and then. Texas Southern always. Texas Southern won it. They won at Sparty one year. So every now and then you'll see a SWAC team pop up, but a full non-biased opinion, and I think even SWAC fans will agree with this, they're at a huge disadvantage in the non-con with their travel schedules.
Yeah, 100%. It's the Chicago State World Tour light version.
Yeah.
But this year there's no World Tour with Chicago State. They're now on the SWAC Tour. So I think the SWAC, they do it, like you said, to fund the entire athletic program. So give me 15 seconds for station identification, and we'll jump right in here, alphabetical order, covering all these teams. But first, the NFL and college football are in full swing right now, and make sure you subscribe to the Sports Gambling Podcast and the College Football Experience for free picks for every game against the spread. All right, alphabetical order, Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Last year, they finished 12-23, 9-9 in the SWAC, which was 7th. Alabama A&M had a top 5 defense in the SWAC last season, and they returned the 5th most minutes in the conference from last year. Darius Ford was a big get for the Bulldogs from TCU through the transfer portal. He barely touched the floor through 3 seasons with Jamie Dixon, but we'll probably assume that point guard spot for Bama A&M this season. Coach Hughley will probably play through his big man, Chad Moody, who's probably the best returner from last year. Moody, as I'm finding my stats here on this gigantic sheet that I've filled out today. Moody, where do I got? 18.8 minutes a game, 7.5 points per game, 4 rebounds, shot 51.7% from the field. Max, start us off with Alabama A&M and what you expect from them in 2024-25.
Yeah, you mentioned it. So defensively, they were pretty good. Offensively is where they were abysmal, kind of just looking at their advanced numbers. Otis Hughley entering year number 3 in the program. And they've had a little bit of, they haven't been horrible. He's been 19-17 in the SWAC play, 27-41 overall. I kind of think that they're kind of going to be in the middle of the pack again. I think it's that's kind of what he's shown in 2 years. And we talked about it with just the discrepancy of the records. Yes, he's 27-41, but a winning record in SWAC play, finished 5th and dropped down to 7th. What do you think? I think middle of the pack team, a lot of question marks, a lot of unknowns. The transfer portal, it's early. I need to see, do we have a final schedule on any of these teams yet?
Yeah, I have. Well, I don't know about final / official. Right there in bold lettering on Torvik, schedules are a work in progress, but you can see the conference slate and some of the non-conference games.
Okay. I'm pulling up Torvik right now on our where did we go? Oh, Bar Torvik disappeared on me. Oh, there's Torvik. Get over here, Torvik. Yeah, I think middle of the pack. How about you?
That's kind of where I have them as well.
10-8
year 1, 9-9 in year 2 under Hughley. The defense is kind of what carries them out of the bottom half. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the ceiling's necessarily as high as some of the other teams in the SWAC this year.
Oh, hey, their schedule's easy compared to all the other teams. They
Yeah,
only
they had
go to
couple of
Georgia
home
and
games.
Chattanooga and Georgia Tech. So maybe they're like you said, they got a couple of home games, and I really want to spotlight these schedules because I need to hammer this home when we get to actually picking the games for our pick
You're
show.
right.
How crazy these schedules are, but this is one of the more favorable ones. I do like the little MEAC SWAC challenge that they do in the end of November, I believe, is when it is.
Yeah, South Carolina State, your boy.
No, they need to find a way to do more games, like 3 games each against each other. Just so like you give yourself at least a chance to win a couple games for these coaches.
Yeah, and shout out our guy Rocco Miller. I mean, it's just an easy way to get games is schedule these
100%.
conference versus conference things and
Yep.
just go in standings order from the previous season. That way it's not too out of whack and skill or recruiting or talent or whatever you might have some worries about. And Hasty saying Quincy McGriff was a decent get for the Bulldogs as well.
Yep.
Second team here is the Alabama State Hornets. We're staying in state here. 13-19 overall last season, 8-10 in the SWAC, which was tied for 8th. Alabama State returns 56.2% of their minutes, which is actually the most in the SWAC. And they had a top 3 defense in the league in 2023-24. The issue was that they were anemic on offense. 11th in conference, 352nd offensive efficiency in the country, according to KenPom. The lone bright spot offensively was TJ Madlock, the coach's son, last year, and he's coming back to Montgomery for his senior season and 3rd year in the program. Madlock, he was a double-digit point scorer last season. Mac, I don't know your full stance on this. I know you gave me a ton of shit with Michigan with all the Howard boys, but what's your state of the program when it comes to? I don't know if I'm going to label it. I'll let you do it if you want. But how do you like it, dislike it? What's your thoughts on Alabama State this season?
I kind of think that they're headed in the right direction, and our buddies over at Shot Quality really like them last year. They kind of thought that they were unlucky, and I kind of agree with them. I like them on the defensive side of the basketball. Madlock, you mentioned it, he's headed into year number 3. Year 1 was kind of a rebuild, 8 wins, 6 wins in league. They jump up, they win a couple more, 13. I kind of think that this could be a top 4 team. You mentioned the experience coming back, and in a league where there's a lot of unknown, I kind of like to side with Bar Torvik's side of bringing back a bunch of experience. So maybe this is a dark horse in the SWAC this year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the returning experience is key in a lot of these small conferences. It is hard to know with a lot of the teams what the, guys that barely played at a level higher than the SWAC are coming in, transferring in, because that is what sometimes takes some teams from middle of the pack to a contender is those guys step up and we just, had no idea what they were going to possibly bring to the table. For what it's worth, currently, according to Torvik, I'm actually pulling up the bracketeer. Shout out to Rocco Miller once again, but to see if he's got any of the official scheduling up. But Alabama State does not have a home game in non-conference. So this happened quite a bit with 3 teams actually last year in the SWAC, because Colby and I were talking about it also on last year's show. 3 teams last year did not play a home game in the calendar year before conference play. And once again, it doesn't look like Alabama State has a home game in the year 2024.
Hey, Noah, who was the one that went into UNLV on opening night and just beat the shit out of them? They won by like 20. Remember that?
Yeah.
I got to look at, was it Jackson State?
Hold on. I'll be able to find this.
It was Southern. Southern won by 15, and they were up 30 the entire game.
They beat the snot out of UNLV. Yeah. And I remember, I think I was on Southern that game.
We were.
I had a lot of bad bets, but actually I was kind of the SWAC king. Like I took a lot of these nasty, huge spreads. I think I took Pine Bluff like plus 50 against Oklahoma. Like there was a couple of nasty hits last year. But I was talking to Mac pre-show. last year, Colby and I were convinced that the talent was up and just the athleticism was better than ever before in the SWAC. They brought in a couple of good transfers overall throughout the conference. I was talking to Mac. They might have taken a step back overall as a conference.
Well, they're going to get killed with the portal because they don't have their NIL is very, very limited. So, hey, stay tuned. End of the show, Hornets fans. You might be my sleeper.
Okay,
I like
awesome.
this. I like Alabama State. Let's go.
Yeah, Hasty says we were on that Southern game, so let's go. I'm the memory is coming back. I'm not usually good with the old brain, but every once in a while, if you got a hit like that, hopefully you do remember it. Underdog Fantasy Pick'em is giving you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry. The NFL is back, and they're giving out a ton of pick'em specials to get you started week 1, week 2 for NFL, also college football. You can use all these specials and boosts on all flexed entries, which go up to 8 picks. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN, top left portion of the screen on YouTube here, to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. The Alcorn State Braves is next up for us in alphabetical order in SWAC coverage here today on our preview. They were 14-18 a year ago, 13-5 in the SWAC, which was second in the conference. Alcorn State does lose a bunch of minutes from a season ago, but Landon Bussey's squad remains one of the most experienced in the SWAC, according to Torvik. I'm not sure if the Braves can repeat their top scoring offense in the SWAC like they had a year ago. But if they're anywhere close to that, it's because Julian Luwal, a transfer from Arkansas State, is probably making a big impact here. He only played 12.5 points last year, but 12.5 minutes per game, but 4.5 points per game, 2.2 rebounds. He was an efficient shooter when he was on the floor. 34.4% from 3, 41.4% from the field. So we'll see how that kind of transfers over. And speaking of seeing how it could translate, Josh Mitchell and Dan Braster, 2 D2 good producers for their squads in the D2 level. Both played over 20 minutes a game. Braster was a scorer. Mitchell was a good rebounder in that level. So Alcorn State is an interesting team to try to slot into my preseason rankings in this conference specifically, because this is a little bit of a tough rank for me, because I do like the culture that Bussey's built, but I don't know if this is the squad that's going to have them competing for a banner this year. How about you, Mac?
Yeah, you mentioned the culture. They've won 2 out of the last 3 regular season titles. Last year, finished second. They have been snake bit in this conference tournament, losing in the quarterfinal back-to-back years to the 7 and 8 seeds. But you mentioned it. Bussey's been really good there, headed into year number 5. And just SWAC plays 48-19, so really consistent. They're going to be in the top 5 because of him, in my opinion. They're different, though. Last year they were not. They're like the opposite of Alabama State and Alabama A&M. They were the best offensive team, and probably why they were upset early was because they were one of the worst defensive teams. So Alcorn likes to score the basketball. I can't just I got to think that they're still going to be in the top 5 because of Bussey. So I know a lot of turnover, but he's a good coach. I trust the culture here.
I'm counting up their road games.
Oh yeah, I had. By the
They
way,
have 13 road games in the non-con. No home game, no neutral game. They are at a non-D1 school too, so they're on the road against the non-D1.
Veer.
Usually,
who's a Veer?
I don't know. And it's not even capitalized, so I don't even know if that's the proper name for the school. It's another one of those world tours, Mac. TCU, Tulane, Utah State, Washington, Maryland, Oklahoma, Rice, UAB. That is a gauntlet.
Yep.
What'd you pull up?
Not favorable. No, I was just saying, like, I had their schedule pulled up, and I said I was gonna highlight each and every team with their schedule. So I did forget to throw in Alabama State. Alabama State has UNLV, LSU, Akron, Cincinnati, SMU, and Missouri. So I want to highlight all these guys' schedule. You just said Alcorn. Theirs might be the hardest.
I mean, we're only 3 through. I haven't actually, honest to God. I mean, I'm not really looking at non-con schedules. I'm trying to just figure out which one of these teams are going to be the best in conference. These are honestly surprised to me. I'm going through all of these non-cons for the first time today with you guys. First time right now. Hasty in the chat says Alcorn State will be battle tested by the time conference season rolls around. Time to get them gelled. And Cannabis Capper says these are absolute gauntlets.
It's ridiculous.
The next squad here is the Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. Somebody put out an APB for some peanut butter. 13-18 overall last season, 8-10 in the SWAC, tied for 8th in the conference last year. Solomon Bozeman's offense at Arkansas Pine Bluff was actually a top 4 offense in the SWAC last year. And I think there's some potential for that again. They do lose quite a bit. They return the second least minutes, and they do have the second youngest roster in the SWAC. However, there is some experience in the starting backcourt, which features junior Christian Moore at point guard, transferring in from Texas. Moore played only 5.7 minutes per game, just over a point per game, but North Texas didn't really see the floor too much. Hopefully his role expands here for the Golden Lions. Junior Quentin Bolden Jr. coming in from Charleston Southern. He played 17.7 minutes per game, 7.6 points per game, 4.3 rebounds. Not the best shooter in the world, 42.9% from the field, 26.3 from 3. And he did shoot quite a bit of threes. He had a good sample size there. And then returning senior Jair McLeod. Played 16.8 minutes per game, 5.2 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 61% from the field. So they're all expected to start. I think the offense should be okay. Mac, do you trust Bozeman to have the Golden Lions offense humming once again, in your opinion?
I got my questions with this team and this program. During Bozeman, they haven't finished above 8th in league play. I kind of think that they're going to be in the bottom half again. You mentioned it. They don't have a lot coming back too. There's a lot of turnover. Probably need to see it. Scheduling spotlight for APB: Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Missouri, K-State, Texas. That's a light non-con for APB.
I love this from Cannabis Capper in the chat too. Let's see an ACC team play a SWAC non-conference schedule.
SWAC's better than the ACC.
Oh shit. After Pine Bluff, we've got the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. 17-17 a season ago, 11-7 in the SWAC, which was tied for 5th. I mean, this has been the headline in the SWAC in the offseason here. Somebody go look and see if we've got some Penny Hardaway activity with Reggie Theus, please. Whether some paying is going under the table through Hardaway or through the institution's NIL program, that's a little bit of a question mark. We might need to see that from Bethune-Cookman because, I mean, the transfer portal was an impressive haul. How they're going to be able to gel all together is going to be interesting. But everybody buckle up because we're going to go for a ride. All right. So point guard, Yanni Hunt, 6'4", graduate senior, 31.8 minutes per game last season at Cal State Northridge. He averaged 10.2 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 4 assists, 1 steal. Not the greatest shooter in the world. Brayon Freeman, Coastal Carolina transfer, who averaged 7 points per game in 4 games last season. I don't know if there was an injury or he redshirted. Antoine Jones, a 6'6" graduate senior, played 13.3 minutes per game at UCF last year, averaging 4.3 points per game. Daniel Ruzon, 6'8", 29.6 minutes a game last season at Manhattan, double-digit scorer, 11.4 points, 4.6 rebounds, 1.8 assists per game, 52.7% from the field. And Jesus Carolaro, 6'8", graduate senior, 12.8 minutes a game, played at Missouri last season. transferred there through the transfer portal after 4 years at Campbell. So don't ask me how he has a 6th year, but Jesus Carolero, the big man. Also, Trey Thomas coming in from Hampton, 14.6 minutes, 6.6 points per game, 1 assist. Jerome Bea coming in from Tennessee Tech. He's a junior. David Onanamina, 3.6 minutes, 2.2 points per game at Eastern Kentucky last year. And Khalil Kamara, a graduate senior, 6'7", from Tennessee Tech, 18.9 minutes per game, 8.2 points per game, 2.9 rebounds. Efficient shooter when he was on the floor. 50.4% from the field, 46.1 from 3. Whew. Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah. Under Theus, the Wildcats have taken slight steps up in every season. 9-21 in his first year with 7 SWAC wins, to 12-20 with 8 SWAC wins, and 17-7 with 11 SWAC wins. Mac, what are you expecting from this hodgepodge of Bethune-Cookman Wildcats in year 4 of Reggie Theus?
I have no fucking idea. If you want me to be completely honest. So I like, and I had a conversation with Hoops Peterson, I think 2 weeks ago, about Bethune and just the different faces that they're bringing in. I kind of look at Howard, what they were last year. I think Bethune will be top 4, maybe top 5 in the SWAC, just based off of talent. But I can't get on here and say they are going to win the SWAC because they got all these former high major guys coming in. Just too many unknowns, too many guys late in their career that have an injury history as well. I have no idea how they're going to mesh. I could see them winning the league. I could see them finishing 10th, 11th, or even 12th with just the way it could go. So we'll see Theus. Theus has actually done a decent job as of late. I mean, he came in 9-21 year 1, 12-20 year 2, then all the way up to 5th place in 17-17. So I kind of think that they'll, even though they have more hype with bigger names, be similar to last year around that 500 mark.
That's what I'm thinking too. There has been steady steps up, but overall, kind of right in the middle of SWAC conference play for Theus in his 3 years so far. I think this is probably his best team on paper. And sure, I could see 12 or 13 possible SWAC wins. But that's probably the ceiling. Did you want to do the schedule, or are you going to let me do the schedule?
Oh, yes, yeah. Sorry, I was taking a nap while you were reading off all those transfers, and I was taking a peek at Monday Night Football. Yeah, Texas Tech, Nebraska. Who else we got? We got Virginia. We got Minnesota. We got Tulane. We got West by God, Virginia. We got South Florida, Mississippi State, Davidson, and even Fort Wayne. That's all they got.
I mean, sure, to the common man, you're like, okay, those are average programs at the Power Conference.
The travel they got to do.
But they are going to get beat to shit. Texas Tech, physical. Yeah. Minnesota, who knows what they're going to be. Virginia, physical. West Virginia, physical. Mississippi State with Chris Jans, physical. Those 4. I mean, is this team going to be fully healthy when they get into conference play? Yeah. That's a big time question mark that I have. But yeah, this is going to be a little bit interesting. And as Hasty points out here, they are favored via Torvik in a couple of non-conference games here. Favored against South Carolina State by 6 points, and slightly favored against North Dakota in a neutral there. So interesting. Paul Loth is bought in all the way.
Bought in. He's bought in.
He says they're winning the SWAC tourney. Also, Cannabis Capper saying he's betting on Bethune in conference play. Conference championship is worth a sprinkle from Hasty. On paper, this is your conference champ. But we've got to see it from Theus. We know Colby's going to be betting him every game, but this is just another talent is there, but what's the coach got for me? And like I said, there's been slight steps up. I don't know how, how great of a coaching job is needed with this team. Could it be player led? For sure, but this is an interesting one. I think it's a top half team. Mac, how about you?
Middle. Too many unknowns. I've seen these quote unquote super teams go the other way too. So I'll split the difference here, kind of in that 5, 6, 7 range.
Last year, Jackson State killed it in the portal. They finished 7th.
Exactly. That's who great call. That's who I kind of get vibes of, Mo Williams.
Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football, basketball, baseball? Do you even know what a sports betting model is? SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model. Copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press build a model for me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Okay, we are home free here on the college basketball experience. Checking up with the chat one more time before we move on. Hasty says Mac has a point, and Cannabis Capper says Bethune-Cookman equals that super team. You heard it here first. So Capper's built, and Capper's all the way in.
Here's around super team on the SWAC preview.
You talk about all the way in. Here's a team that I might be all the way out on this season. Florida A&M Rattlers.
Yeah,
they were 6-23 a year ago, 4-14 in the SWAC, 11th, aka second to last. Mac, trivia time. Shout out to the Eye on College Basketball podcast who do those. How many straight losing seasons has Florida A&M had?
Ooh, God, 39.
17. So about half of your guess.
Wow.
It was not as bad of a guess as I kind of thought it could have been. So yeah, the athletic department made a change. They bring in Patrick Crary II coming in from St. Thomas, Florida, an NAIA program, because us NAIA lives matter. I'm pointing to my NAIA Point Park flag behind me. Crary won the Sun Conference Coach of the Year in 2023, 3 straight winning seasons, 61-27 overall record with the Bobcats. But Mac, this seems like an early jump to being a D1 head coach for me, right? No D1 coaching experience at all, not even as a assistant or anything. It wasn't like Crary was absolutely killing it in his various stops at the NAIA level, below 60% winning percentage. This was just kind of a backyard hire. Hey, you had a good tenure here at St. Thomas. Why don't you come be the head man for the Rattlers? What do you think about the hire? How about the outlook for Florida A&M this season?
So a lot of unknown, like you said. How's he going to transition from St. Thomas over here to Florida A&M? This is a complete and total rebuild job at FAMU. He won some games, like you said, it's at St. Thomas, Florida, but it's at a different level. It's a different league in the SWAC. He's got his work cut out for him. You have to put him in the bottom 3, bottom 4 teams. There's no way you can blindly get on here and say, I think they're going to be a top half in year one of the Crary era. But hey, we'll wait and see. Hopefully we're proven wrong, and he's the next big time thing in the SWAC or MEAC, and he can move up. So, but yeah, I would say bottom tier team here in year number 1. I can't see a path that they're not.
Yeah, and I'll touch on the roster here in a second. The big headline that they made in the offseason, again, big for the SWAC, they acquired Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes, I did see that.
So Shaquille's son. Also, Crary hammered the NAIA and JUCO route through the transfer portal. Brings in 4 JUCO transfers, 1 D2 transfer, and then one guy by the name of Milton Matthews follows him over from St. Thomas. Milton Matthews drilled 116 threes last season. Averaged 18.6 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 40.8% from three. This kid sounds pretty automatic. Played 34.5 minutes per game. Sounds like he's never going to come off the floor, and sounds like once he gets the ball, he's shooting it for the most part. Florida A&M this season for 2024-25. Now let's talk about last year's defending champion in the SWAC.
Hey, real quick, we got to do the schedule spotlight for FanQ.
Yeah.
TCU, SMU, Maryland, Florida, Clemson. Those are their first 5. Then they take a break and then got Utah and BYU at the end.
They got 2 home games there, so hopefully 2 wins.
It's a cupcake schedule for SWAC standards.
So yeah, let's move on and talk about the defending champs, Grambling State, who swept the SWAC last season. Very, very impressive feat. They were 21-15 a year ago, 14-4 in conference. Grambling State takes a slight hit from the transfer portal and via graduation. Defensively under Donte Jackson is where this program typically shines. I expect that to continue, but they return 2 double-digit scores from a season ago. And Contavious Dozier and Antoine Burnett. For this team here, we've got Dozier, 26.4 minutes per game last season, 13 points per game. 44.6 from the field. Antoine Burnett, 33 minutes per game, 10 points per game, 5.9 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists per game, also 45.5% from the field. Mac, I'm not sure if this is going to be enough to pull off another SWAC sweep, but I have Grambling State competing for a banner this year. How about you?
Yeah, you can't discount what Donte Jackson's been able to do there over the last 7-8 years. I mean, they've 81-42 in SWAC play. They've never had a losing record in conference play while he's been there. He's a good coach. He defensive minded. You mentioned it. They grind. They were fun to watch. They really. Well, it was good to see them finally break through. They had been knocking on the doorstep. I believe it was their first ever NCAA tournament. Not only do they get to the tournament, they win a game against Montana State. I think a little bit of a step back is expected. I mean, they lost a bunch via the portal. It sucks that, hey, we go to the tournament, then we get our roster rated by the portal because everybody saw them on national TV. But, I mean, I trust Jackson as a coach, and I think they'll find a way to win some games and be in the top 4.
Yeah, that's about right where I have Grambling State as well this season. Jackson State, another Tigers team here. There are 3 in the SWAC. Jackson State finished last season 15-17 overall, 11-7 in SWAC, tied for 5th. You know, Jackson State was pretty good in the non-con. Then a couple of injuries slowed Mo Williams' Tigers team down in conference play. This year they do return the 3rd fewest minutes of any SWAC team from a year ago. Still, Mo Williams, 12-6 in year 1, 11-7 in year 2 during league play. You could say what you want. This team has been plenty talented in both years. Haven't won the league in either, but definitely in the top half. Jackson State is going to be in the mix. Deshaun Ruffin is a big-time name that missed a good chunk of games last season. He returns and is expected to be quarterback of an offense that has finished in the top 3 in both of Mo Williams' seasons at the helm. Jackson State is I would say a contender for me, Jackson State this year. Mac, how about you?
Yeah, Mo Williams. So he started at Alabama State 2 years. Then he comes over to Jackson State. Jackson State's clearly one of the best 3-4 best jobs in the SWAC. Texas Southern probably being the clear number 1. But Jackson State, 23-13 in his 2 years there. Maybe it's my NBA bias against the NBA guys as a coach, but I don't know if I'm there with Mo Williams as a coach yet. So I think he's got to prove it to me that he can win with the talented roster. They were as talented as anybody last year. And I think that, but he does a good job of recruiting. They find a way to get dudes in this program. And for the most part, they're good come SWAC time. It's just, I need to see it from Mo Williams in the postseason if they can get over the hump, because the talent's there. They're on par with the top teams. It's can they get it done in March? Because you look at the last 2 years, and I know I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth, where I say you can't judge everything by the postseason, but eventually you do have to break through. And that's what we're waiting for with Mo Williams. But roster standpoint, top 4 team.
Oh, for roster,
Easy.
yeah, they've got one of the best rosters,
Yep.
no doubt. Them and Bethune have really good rosters for the SWAC. I don't know if you just saw the name change on our YouTube show, but a good roster might be the polar opposite of this team. Go ahead. We forgot Jackson State.
We got to catch up on Grambling too. Grambling, Ole Miss, Florida, USC, New Mexico, Cincinnati. Oh, this is an easy one. Jackson State has who do we got?
Yeah, Houston. Grambling's got some home games in November and December.
Houston, Xavier, Vandy, Western Kentucky. Yeah, just talked to Coach Plona today. Kentucky, St. Louis, Iowa State, and UTEP. Nothing like going from Ames, Iowa to El Paso to end the non-con.
Yeah, Jackson State was one of those teams last year that didn't have a home game in the calendar 2023. They don't have a home game in the calendar 2024 either.
My team's up next.
What in the world? Talking about good rosters. And then if anybody just saw the ticker flip on the YouTube show, it now displays, it went from Jackson State Tigers to the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils, baby. The best broadcast booth in the nation.
In the nation. Store last year.
They rapping after losses, baby. 1-30. 1-17 in SWAC. 12th, aka last. On the court, there aren't as many positives as off the court with the broadcast booth. Dead last in offensive and defensive efficiency in the SWAC. Dead last in the country offensively, and also 362nd overall in general in KenPom efficiency stats. Bad. But they had some roster turnover while retaining one good player in senior Donovan Sanders. Donovan Sanders last season, 30.7 minutes per game, 10.5 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 2.1 steals. A volume shooter, not very efficient, but volume shooter, good high score. Bad teams need that. Sanders will be at the forefront of the second most experienced roster in the SWAC. Mac, is there a possibility that the Delta Devils can climb out of the basement in the Southwest Athletic Conference? You know, the place that they finished for 6 straight seasons. What do you say?
No. Damn. So here's another, I'm just doing my research. George Ivory headed into year number 3. He's the interim AD. He's been interim AD for 3 years. How long are you the interim AD? When you're the interim, you're supposed to be no more than a year. I looked because I was like,
you're like the girlfriend that has been the girlfriend for 9 years.
Yeah, because I'm like, why is he still the AD? Because that was one of my main things with Mississippi Valley. I'm like, how can you coach your team and focus on everything when you're trying to be the AD of the athletic department too? And I looked, and he's still the fucking, he's still the damn he's interim AD. He's been there since 2022.
He's got the engagement ring. He just hasn't gotten married yet.
Yeah, it's last place. Pencil him in. I hope I'm wrong. Let's look at the non-con. Come on. Oh yeah, the game 1. They're playing College of Biblical Studies. Let's go. That's got to be a dub. Then they go to DePaul. Then they got SMU. Then they got UAB, Mississippi State, UCLA, Rice, Oklahoma. Actually, not the worst non-con for them compared to what it was last year. Last year, I remember it was like, my Lord.
You're looking at Mississippi Valley State?
Is this not them? Oh, whoops, that's Purdue.
No, because the name that catches my eye here is Mississippi State or Mississippi University for Women.
Uh-oh. Yes. Wow. So they're playing a women's team in game 2. They're going to need it because they have Iowa State to start, Then they have Missouri. Then they have Texas. Then they have K-State. Then they have BYU. Then they have Utah. Then they have Liberty, North Texas, Tulsa, LSU. My God. They better beat the women's team.
Yeah, and Oakwood. Watch out, Oakwood. You're going to get that Delta Devil. That will be interesting. They need a win.
February 26th. Last year was their first win. It might be similar to that. If they don't get the women's basketball team, they got to beat the women.
Yeah, at least they've got home games. That is a positive. You don't always get home games in the SWAC in the calendar year that you begin your season in. Let's talk about Prairie View A&M. 10-21 a season ago, 5-13 over 5-13 in the SWAC. They finished 10th in the conference. Prairie View returns the least amount of minutes in the SWAC from last season. Could be a good thing. They have a pretty good transfer class. So coming in, buckle up. This is another one that's kind of like Bethune-Cookman. Braylon Bush from Northwestern State, point guard, 31.5 minutes per game, 10.3 points per game, 3.1 assists. Jordan Tillman, Southern Indiana transfer, played 24 minutes per game. Didn't play a ton of games, though. I think it was due to injury. 8.9 points per game, 3 rebounds per game. Marcel Bryant, coming in from Nebraska, Omaha, 8.9 minutes per game, 3.7 points per game. Micah Clark from North Alabama. He only played 4 games last year. Tanaj Petway, 14.2 minutes per game at New Mexico State last season, 5.1 points per game. Solomon Oregbu, he's a D2 transfer from Emporia State, 29.5 points. 29.5 minutes per game, 16.1 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game. Not an efficient shooter. Zakir Sawyer, a Tarleton State transfer. And also 6'10" Ryan Bolton, a redshirt freshman from Texas State. Mac, last year was Byron Smith's first losing season in SWAC play during his 8-year tenure. Could this be a bounce back year for Smith and the Panthers?
I mean, how can we not say that it's going to be a bounce back year? You mentioned it. At one point he was 44-6 in a 44-5 in a 3-year window. Then COVID came, and they've been kind of downhill since. They haven't had a winning season in the SWAC since 2021. So it's been puzzling what has happened to Prairie View the last couple of years. I got to think that they're going to bounce back, man. The fact that they had the program where they had it from 18 to 21, I think that this is a bounce back. This might be a team I want to buy some stock in with Prairie View. I like Byron Smith. I think he's a good coach, proven track record, veteran, knows this league, and I think they're due for some positive regression here.
I tend to agree with you. I don't know if I'm going to be as bold and say it, but I like where you're going. I like the direction. You can only go up from where they finished last year. You can't really go much further down because teams like Mississippi Valley State, Arkansas Pine Bluff, and Florida A&M exist. But I think this is a bounce back year, hopefully, for Prairie View.
It's got to be.
The Southern Jaguars are up next. They finished 18-14 overall a season ago, 12-6, which was 3rd in the conference in Kevin Johnson's first year. Southern returns the 3rd most minutes from last year, and they're fueled by their youth, the 3rd least experienced team in the SWAC for this upcoming season year, according to Torvik. They do have to replace a good chunk of their starting 5, however. Johnson instilled excellent culture in year 1 with the SWAC's best defense via Ken Palm's defensive efficiency. Also for this season, Torvik is projecting 4 double-digit scores for this upcoming season, which is the most I saw for any team in the SWAC. That could mean 2 things: troubling depth or a really good core, which was given a good shot by the transfer portal, and also includes returning point guard TD Jane Dumasi. I sounded like Colby Dant there, but that is a native pronunciation that I have no familiarity with. Mac, Southern, they had a good year last year under Kevin Johnson. Year 2, How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, Kevin Johnson did a good job. 12-6 in the SWAC in year number 1. They bring back a good amount. I mean, you kind of look at it, top 3, top 4 production coming back. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be right back in it. I think they'll be right in the thick of things, top 4, top 5 team here.
I agree. I think I see really good things from this team. They got the defensive foundation, and
yeah, they guard.
I tend to trust Torvik and Ken Palm. Ken Palm doesn't have the numbers out yet for this upcoming year, but I tend to trust their metrics a little bit more with these smaller teams. 4 double-digit point scorers is pretty impressive. Actually, we do have Paul Loth talking about. I changed my pick. He likes Southern for the SWAC tourney.
We got another team that's pretty damn good coming up here.
Yeah, let's talk about the last one in Texas Southern. Look, few things are more automatic than Johnny Jones in the SWAC. Death, taxes, Johnny Jones. Texas Southern returns the second most minutes from a team that won 12 games in the SWAC last year. Yet Jones still went out and reshaped the backcourt with some solid transfers. We've got Kavion McLean, 27 minutes per game at Abilene Christian last year, 6.2 points per game, but he's a distributor, 3.4 assists, 44.8% from the field. Jalen Jackson Posey, New Mexico State transfer, 24.5 minutes per game, 7 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game, 2.6 assists per game. And Alex Anderson, 6'6" wing, 23.7 minutes per game, 11 points per game, 2.9 rebounds, 2.9 assists from Incarnate Word last year, where he shot 47.3. That is a really, really solid backcourt for the SWAC. This, I think, is your front runner. Mac.
Always going to be the front runner with Johnny Jones there, even though they have not won the regular season one time in his tenure.
Yeah,
they win the tournament every year. They win the tournament. They did finally fall short last year. I think they lost to Grambling in the title game, but before that
they were like the 8th seed or something like that.
Yeah, they had won 3 tournaments in a row before that. I feel like they got to the tournament every year.
No, sorry, 8th seed was 2 seasons ago. I think they were 4th last year.
I gave them out. I said they're gonna win it. They always win it, and then they pulled the upset over Alcorn. But they'll be right there. They have probably the best roster continuity in the league. So the SWAC's going to be interesting in the top half, man. I think it's you can make a case kind of for 5-6 teams where I wouldn't be shocked if they won the regular season.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite construction of a roster, though. I mean, I think they've got the best backcourt in the SWAC. I think they've got the best coach in the SWAC. Give me that in March. I think this is your tournament champion. I'm not going to hold that back. We are at the end of the road when it comes to alphabetical order with all these teams. So it's easy to say now, but I am notorious for not being able to contain my excitement when talking about teams when we do preview them individually. Mac, you know how we do it. The preseason predicted standings. We're going to go from 12th to 1st here in the SWAC. Then, if you don't like your number 1 seed, you think that another team might be peaking at the right time come March, like Texas Southern seems to have done quite a bit recently. You can predict a different tournament winner in the SWAC tournament. We're also going to give out a sleeper, and we're also going to give out a bust. 12th place, you have the honors. Lead us off with
Mississippi Valley. I'll make it
broadcast. Best broadcast in the country.
I'll make it easy. Don't hold your breath. Mississippi Valley finishes last. You can't have the AD be the coach, too. You got to separate the roles.
I am going to go with Mississippi Valley State as well. All right, Mac. I'll let you go. 11th. This is, I think, between 2 teams.
For number 11, I need to see it. FAMU, 11 for me.
That's where I have them as well. 11th.
Okay.
10th for you is, I think, the other team that was kind of in
Pine Bluff.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
This is where it can get interesting now.
Yep. Man, I made the cases for some of these teams that I'm like, man, I could see them finishing like second or third.
I mean, you're the one that put yourself in that pickle.
I know. I tend to do that.
Number
9, I will go Alabama A&M.
That's where I have them as well. All right.
Yeah. And I don't hate the roster either. Like I don't think they're horrible.
I don't think I named them a top half team.
Yeah, I like the other teams better.
Yeah, I'm very vague in my labelings. That way I can adjust if need be come the end of the show. But
yeah,
I don't believe I labeled that one of the better rosters in my opinion. 8th, go ahead. You're up.
This is such a perfect spot to slide in an underachieving Bethune-Cookman.
Okay.
Everybody's gonna love Bethune. Give me Bethune. I gotta see it. 8th.
Okay. You've got the Wildcats 8th. I'm gonna go with Prairie View. I think they take a step up from 10th to 8th. Yeah. 7th, you're up.
7th. I think this is where I'm going to put Byron Smith in Prairie View. I think it's a little bit of a step up. They get back around that 500. Too good a program to be in the basement again.
All right. I have Alcorn State 7. I just think they lose quite a bit of production from last year, a second place team in the SWAC. I have them taking a pretty big step back here. This is going to be my bust team.
I like it.
But then again, like a lot of people could be predicting Alcorn takes a step back, and this isn't much of a bust pick at all. That's why we have trouble labeling bust sleepers for the SWAC for a couple of conferences like this.
Okay. Number 6. I think I kind of got Alcorn as well.
Okay.
Little bit of step down.
I have Alabama State 6th. They returned quite a bit from a team that wasn't great last year, but I like the continuity. So I have them in the top half. 5th for you.
5th for me is going to be... Who do I got left? I got Southern, Alabama State, Jackson State, Grambling, Texas Southern. Give me... I'll go Southern, 5th.
At 5th, I'm going to have Bethune-Cookman. I think that's the highest I can have him. To your point, you got to show me before I can really, truly believe in you. But I do think that just the skeleton of this roster, they can get by with poor coaching against the other 7 teams in this conference. 4th for you, Mac.
I'm gonna Benedict here. I'm gonna go Grambling 5th. I'm gonna slide Grambling into 5th. They overachieved last year. I think they take a little bit of a step back, kind of like Alcorn. So Alcorn and Grambling taking a little bit of a step back. I got Southern at 4.
Okay. I don't like that. But I have Jackson State at 4. I don't think this Jackson State team is as good as on paper as I've seen in years past. But I think that they're getting just as much hype as they have in years past. And I'm not going to fully buy in. I'm a little scarred by Mo Williams and co. Mac, your number 3 team in the SWAC.
I had Jackson State myself at 3. Mo Williams, okay. I think the talent's there. They kind of been around that spot. I think they do it again. We'll see if they can get it done in postseason play.
Third here, I'm going to go with Grambling. I think they've got, the defensive solid foundation, one of the best defenses last year. And also they bring back Contavious Dozier and Antoine Burnett, both of them double-digit scores from a season ago. So when you got good defense, good continuity on the offense, I like Grambling in the top 3. So give me them at 3rd, the Tigers.
And number 2, this is my sleeper. I kind of alluded to Alabama State. I like the Hornets this year. I like the experience. I think they were a little better than their record. Madlock year number 3. I think they take a big jump here.
It's a bold pick. I'll give you that. The continuity is nice. I'm going to go with Southern. I think this is a really well-coached team. Again, I'm going with like good, solid defensive foundation. And you look at the Southern team and, I think they did pretty dang good in the portal. And like I said, I typically tend to trust the computers a little bit more than I would like to, and a little bit more than I would with bigger leagues. But when Torvik's projecting 4 double-digit scores on a team, that speaks to me a little bit. Your number 1 team is the same as mine.
Texas Southern.
I have them winning the tournament too.
Oh, no chalk for me in the SWAC, baby.
I mean, that's when Johnny Jones is best.
That's my hot take. He finally wins the regular season, but then he does not win the postseason. For the postseason, give me Alcorn. They're going to be humming by the end of the year. They've gotten upset back-to-back years. They get it done this time around. Alcorn, the year after the years, sliding under the radar this year. The Braves go dancing.
All right, that's bold.
Hey,
but
Swaction, baby.
It's a nice story.
Yeah.
You guys know me. Everybody that listens to this show and listens to all of our conference previews, when I feel good about a team in the preseason, and typically I want to believe in them, and always I do root for chalk in the second and third weeks, sometimes first in March. I just want the best teams competing in the big dance, and it never happens. But I will always, always, always root for the 2 seeds in all these low mid-majors and mid-majors and sometimes high mid-majors, because sometimes they don't get a ton of bids either, like the A10 in years past. I mean, so I labeled Alcorn as my bust. You labeled Alabama State as your sleeper. Who's your bust team?
Bethune. That was easy.
Yeah, should have been easy for me to look at your
expectations on them is ridiculous. It's like, let me see them get through the non-con and have the chemistry continuity. So, yeah, Alabama State, my sleeper, the Hornets, and then obviously Bethune-Cookman. So me and Colby going to be going a lot of head-to-head this year.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for that. My sleeper, I don't really have a sleeper, which is bad because the SWAC usually is not too chalky.
You can't go chalk in this league.
my top 5 is Texas Southern, Grambling, Jackson State, and Bethune-Cookman. I don't think any of those are really sleeper potential. So I think I got to go Alabama State, but I have them nowhere near second like you do. I have Alabama State 6th.
They fit your profile defense.
Yeah, they're a top 3 defense from last year. Last year they finished 9th or no, 12, 11, 10.
They're like 8 and 10.
Yeah, they were 8 and 10. So 8th to 6th, I don't think that's the true definition of sleeper, but I don't think any of these other teams are true definition of sleeper either. The team outside of last year's top 5 that I have jumping in is Jackson State, which they're only 4th. So yeah, I think I've properly labeled my sleeper, but I don't think it's a great sleeper pick. I think I deserve some shit for that.
Chalk Bieniek over here, buddy. Tweet at him at Noah B77 for being a coward of the SWAC.
Yeah, and you can tweet at Mac _Mac. Mac, anything else that you want to include here on the SWAC?
No, we're working on getting a couple SWAC coaches. Obviously, got to work through the schedules here. Would love to have a couple of them on. So, hey, SIDs, coaches that watch this, you want to come on the show, hit me up. I can only hit up the ones that I have numbers for. So if you guys want to come on the show, more than happy to promote SWACtion. Love this league. They play Monday night, man. I get to watch this league more than some of the other mid majors because they play on a night where there's not a zillion games. So always
true, but you're always locked into the Big 12 games on Monday.
Yeah, but that's just on. I mean, that's on the big screen. But I can throw 4 SWAC games on the little screen and get eyes on it. So, yeah, I love the SWAC. I love the MEAC. I love all these leagues except the ACC. So let's go SWACtion. Appreciate it, and we'll be back here in a couple minutes or in a little bit here to break down some other coaching rankings.
Cannabis Capper has a request for you on the summer school coaches tour.
Who's he got? Bring
the interim AD.
Yeah, let's go. we do need to bring on George Ivory. Yeah, George Ivory. Talk about what's going on with the AD label. How do you do both jobs? Talk about time management.
Yeah, and David Matola asking what seeds today. I mean, it's always the original with Chinook. That's my go-to. But yeah, that wraps up today's episode, the conference preview for the SWAC. Look, Mac and I are attempting to do TC trims for every midweek day this offseason and preseason. If you would like to hear one specific topic that you guys want to know our opinions or analysis on, let us know. Leave it in the comments below or hit us up on Twitter like we plugged our socials already within the last 2 minutes. We will be here every day throughout the offseason providing daily news episodes and doing these conference previews. We're going to do all 31. We've had that goal for the past few years here with the college basketball experience ever since Colby started this thing. And for the most part, we are going in reverse order of last season's final KenPom rankings. That, of course, is also including Colby whenever he's available on some of the big ones. So we might insert a surprise high major conference in the middle of all this madness because Colby's currently moving his family across the entire country from California into the Carolinas. So that's going to be really interesting, but he will be moved in all ready to go for opening day in college basketball. Here on YouTube, we will have those things, all of these playlists sorted for you guys. So whether you're looking to binge the college basketball conference previews, the TC trims, or Mac's excellent summer school coaches tour episodes, where he's aiming to interview 68 mid-major head coaches this offseason. Also in the various playlists, you can find the college football experience, the Big 12 experience, the college baseball experience. And if you scroll our YouTube channel a little bit further, you can find more SGPN shows as we have something for everybody. The MMA gambling podcast, the NBA gambling podcast, the golf gambling podcast, the F1 gambling podcast, the NHL gambling podcast, or if you want one main show that dips their toes into every big event while also hitting a home run on the NFL, checking out things each and every week, each and every day in that sport, hammering everything home. It's the Sports Gambling Podcast, the flagship show of this network. Do us one more favor as we head out of here. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button. This has been the college basketball experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
2 down.
29 to go.